Hello everybody. If you want all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 929, The Boat Journey, Upper Beginner. Captain James Bennett lived in a small town near the sea. The town was called Saltbay. It was a quiet place with stone buildings and narrow streets. Most people in Saltbay worked with fish. Their fathers and grandfathers did the same thing before them. James was 52 years old. He had salt and pepper hair and deep lines on his face. His skin was brown from years of sun and wind. He had large hands and strong arms. He was not a tall man, but he was broad and solid. People in the town respected him. They called him Jim. James worked on a fishing boat called the Golden Wave. The boat was old but very strong. His father, Thomas, bought the Golden Wave 40 years ago. Thomas fished on it every day until his back gave out. Then he gave the boat to James. James was 18 years old at the time. Thomas taught James everything: how to read the water, how to feel the wind, how to know where the fish were swimming. "The sea speaks to you," Thomas said. "You just have to listen." James never forgot those words. Every morning, James woke up at 4 o'clock. He dressed warmly and ate porridge with salt. He drank 2 cups of tea, then walked down to the harbour. The walk took 10 minutes. He passed the fish shop, the church, and the school where he learned to read and write. The street was always empty at that hour. Only cats moved between the buildings. At the harbour, James prepared his boat. He checked the engine oil. He looked at the fuel. He examined the nets for holes. He checked the radio. He loaded water and bread for the day. This routine was the same every single day. James liked routine. It kept him safe. One Thursday morning, James woke up and felt different. Something was strange. The air was too warm for the season. The sky was pale yellow near the horizon. The sea was completely flat. There was no wind at all. James stood on the dock and looked at the water. It was like glass. He felt uneasy in his chest. James knew what this meant. His father told him about this. "When the sea goes flat and the air goes warm, something is coming," Thomas had said. "Be careful, son." James decided to go out anyway. The fishermen of Salt Bay could not afford to stay home. Fish were their living. James sailed out into the sea. The water was calm and silent. After 1 hour, he dropped his nets. He waited. The sun climbed higher. The heat was unusual. James wiped sweat from his forehead. He drank water and watched the horizon. After another hour, he pulled up the first catch. The net was heavy. Many fish filled it: cod, haddock, and mackerel. James smiled. It was a good catch. He put the fish in boxes with ice. He dropped the nets again. The second catch was even better. James was very pleased. The boxes were almost full. He decided to try one more time before going home. He dropped the nets a third time. This was a mistake. While James waited for the third catch, the weather began to change. Far away, dark clouds appeared on the horizon. They moved fast, too fast. The wind came suddenly from the east. It pushed against James's face. The flat seas started to move. Small waves became bigger waves. James pulled up the nets quickly. There were fewer fish this time, but he did not care. He needed to get home. He started the engine and turned the boat towards Salt Bay. The storm arrived before he could reach the harbour. The sky turned black. Rain fell hard. The wind screamed. Waves crashed over the sides of the boat. The Golden Wave shook and rolled. James held the steering wheel with both hands. Water hit his face again and again. The engine struggled. James could hear it coughing and slowing down. He checked the fuel. It was low, very low. He had been out longer than planned because of the third catch. Fear crawled up his spine. He pushed it down. Panic kills fishermen. His father taught him that. James reduced the engine speed to save fuel. The boat moved slowly through the angry sea. Waves pushed the Golden Wave sideways. James corrected the direction again and again. His arms burned with effort, his fingers hurt from gripping the wheel. Then the radio crackled. A voice came through. It was the Coast Guard. All vessels, severe weather warning. Return to port immediately. Repeat, return to port immediately. James picked up the radio. This is the Golden Wave. I am returning to Saltbay Harbour. Engine is running low on fuel. My position is approximately 3 miles south of Salt Bay. Copy that, Golden Wave, the Coast Guard replied. We have your position. Salt Bay Harbour is open. Do you need assistance? James thought for a moment. Not yet. I can make it. I will call if things change. Understood. Stay safe, Captain. The conversation gave James a little comfort. Someone knew where he was, but the sea did not care about radios. The waves grew larger. One wave hit the boat from the side with terrible force. James almost lost his balance. A box of fish slid across the deck. He grabbed the rail and held on. Another wave came, and another. The boat tilted dangerously. James poured every bit of strength into keeping the boat straight. He whispered to the boat, "Hold on, old girl, hold on." Slowly the storm began to ease. The waves did not hit as hard. The rain became lighter. James could see the coastline now. He saw the familiar shape of Salt Bay. The harbour lights were on. They shone like gold in the darkness. The engine gave one last cough and then stopped. The fuel was gone. James dropped the anchor quickly. The boat stopped moving. He was close to the harbour, but not close enough. He could not sail in without the engine. James thought for a moment. He looked at the small emergency oars in the back of the boat. They were old and small. He had not used them in years, but he had no choice. He fitted the oars into the locks and began to row. It was hard work. The wind still pushed against him. The oars were heavy. His arms were already tired from the storm, but James rowed and rowed. Each stroke brought him closer to home. He counted his strokes. 100, 200, 300. Someone on the dock saw him. A young fisherman named Danny ran to the edge of the harbour. "Captain Jim, do you need help?" he shouted. "I need a tow," James called back. Danny grabbed a thick rope and threw it. James caught it on the second try. Danny tied the rope to his own boat and pulled the Golden Wave into the harbour. James stepped off the boat. His legs were shaking. His whole body was wet and cold. Danny looked at him. "That was a bad one, Captain." James nodded slowly. "Yes, it was." Danny helped James carry the fish boxes to the storage room. The catch was still good. Despite everything, the fish would feed many families in Salt Bay. That was something. James walked home through the wet streets. His boots were heavy with seawater. The town was quiet now. Everyone was inside, away from the storm. Cats were hiding under cars and behind walls. When James reached his small flat, he took off his wet clothes and put on dry ones. He made tea. He sat by the window and held the warm cup in his hand. Outside, the storm continued. Rain hit the glass. The wind moaned between the buildings. James looked at a photograph on the wall. It was his father, Thomas, standing on the Golden Wave. He was young and strong. He was smiling at the camera. James touched the photograph gently. "Your old girl held together today, Dad," James said quietly. "She did you proud." He finished his tea and went to bed. His body was exhausted. Every muscle ached, but his mind was calm. He had faced the sea and survived. He had done his job. The next morning, James woke at 4 o'clock as usual. He dressed warmly and ate porridge with salt. He drank 2 cups of tea. Then he walked down to the harbour. The storm was gone. The sky was clear blue. The sea was calm again. Birds flew over the water. The air smelled fresh and clean. James stood at the dock and looked at the Golden Wave. She was battered and dirty. She needed cleaning and repair. The engine needed fuel. Some nets needed fixing. But she was floating. She was alive. James checked the engine oil. He looked at the fuel. He examined the nets for holes. He loaded water and bread for the day. Then he started the engine. It coughed once and then hummed steadily. James smiled. He untied the rope and sailed out into the sea. The water was calm. The wind was gentle. Saltbay disappeared behind him. This was his life. This was his home. The sea was dangerous, but it was where he belonged. Thomas knew that. James knew that too. And one day, someone else would stand on the golden wave and know it as well. The sea spoke, and James listened, just like his father taught him. If you learned a new word today, please make sure to subscribe so you can practice again next time. Vocabulary notes. Uneasy, adjective, meaning feeling worried, nervous or uncomfortable about something that might happen. Examples: he felt uneasy in his chest. James stood on the dock and looked at the water. It was like glass. He felt uneasy. Similar words: uncomfortable, nervous, anxious, restless, worried. How to use. Use uneasy when describing a feeling of worry without knowing exactly why. It is often used with feelings in the body. Uneasy in my stomach, uneasy in my chest. Routine, noun, meaning a regular way of doing things that you repeat most days. Examples: this routine was the same every single day. James liked routine, it kept him safe. Similar words: schedule, habit, practice, pattern, arrangement. How to use. Use routine to describe daily activities like morning routines, bedtime routines, or work routines. You can say my routine or follow a routine. Assistance, noun, meaning help given to someone who needs it. Examples: do you need assistance? The Coast Guard replied. Danny helped James carry the fish boxes to the storage room. Similar words: help, support, aid, backup, guidance. How to use. Assistance is a formal word for help. People in jobs like police, Coast Guard or medical staff often use this word. In everyday speech, help is more common. Exhausted, adjective, meaning completely tired, needing rest because you have used all your energy. Examples: his body was exhausted, every muscle ached. His arms were already tired from the storm. Similar words: weary, spent, drained, fatigued, worn out. How to use. Use exhausted when someone is extremely tired after hard work, exercise or stress. It is stronger than just tired. You can say, I am exhausted, or the work left him exhausted. Battered, adjective, meaning damaged by being hit many times or affected by rough conditions. Examples: she was battered and dirty. The boat shook and rolled. Waves crashed over the sides of the boat. Similar words: damaged, beaten, battered, scarred, worn. How to use. Use battered for objects that have been hurt by weather, accidents or rough treatment. A car, building or boat can be battered. It can also describe a person's face after an injury. The word suggests visible damage from repeated hits. Practice tip. Try writing 3 sentences using each vocabulary word. Read them aloud to practice pronunciation. Then listen to the story again and notice how these words sound in context. Story generated by Lumo. Image generated by Lumo. Video generated by UpB. To read, listen, see all the stories' content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.